Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Vendread deck profile. So this deck is a really interesting zombie ritual-based archetype that can summon out some really amazing monsters. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Ravindra Slayer. So this card's a really interesting boss monster of the deck that has some really cool effects. That has the ability that you can ritual summon this card with any Vendread ritual spell, and then once per battle, if this card battles an opponent's monster, during damage calculation quick effect, you can banish a zombie monster from your graveyard, and this card gains an additional 300 attack. And if this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. And if you do, you get to send a Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is pretty good to be able to mill those cards from your deck to the graveyard because the ritual spell has some really interesting effects. We then play a single copy of Vendread Battlelord. Battlelord's pretty good too, and actually probably one of my favorite of the ritual monsters out of all the ritual monsters. It has a really cool effect that you can ritual summon this card with any Vendread ritual spell, and you can manage a Vendread card from your graveyard to declare one type between monster, spell, or trap. And then for the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of that type. So it's almost like a Shockmaster, but not a Shockmaster with quick effect. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Vendread monster from your deck to your hand, and then you get to send a Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard as well, which is a pretty good effect, and being in 2700 beat stick is also awesome, and the artwork is just fantastic for Battlelord. We then play a single copy of Executor. Executor's pretty good too because it's just a one-of though, because it's really easy to summon out, and it has the ability that this card's name becomes Vendread Slayer while on the field, and then when this card, a ritual summon card, is on the field, your opponent cannot target cards you control with card effects except this card, and if this card is destroyed by a battle or destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in the monster zone, you can add a Vendread card from your deck to your hand, which is pretty good to replace itself as well, and it being a 3k beat stick is just overall really, really nice. We then play for the other Vendread monsters. We're playing a single copy of Revenant, which has a cool effect that if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, either by battle or by card effects, and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. And a Vendread ritual monster that uses this card as a material gains the following effect about when you use it for a ritual summon. That once per turn, quick effect, you can target one special summon monster opponent controls and banish it. We then play a single copy of Hound Horde. Hound Horde, that if this card is in the graveyard, you can discard a Vendread card to special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And then if a ritual monster uses this card as a material, then you can once per turn, quick effect, target a spell or trap your opponent controls and banish it. We play a single copy of Strigs. This card's pretty cool too because it has the ability that if this card's in your graveyard, you can reveal a Vendread card in your hand, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And then also, if a Vendread ritual monster uses this card as material to summon itself, then after this card is it gains the following effect that after damage calculation, if this card battles a monster, you can draw a card and then discard a card. Then we play a single copy of Vendread Core, which is probably one of the weirdest looking cards outside of Relinquished or Thousand Eyes Idol in the entire game, or Necroface. And this card has the ability that if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish another zombie monster from your grave, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And if you use this card to ritual summon a Vendread monster, then it gains the ability that your opponent cannot target this card with card effects as well, which is pretty good just to be able to make it so they can't target it. And it's just an overall really, really, really good card. And I love playing this card as a one of, at least in the deck. I don't play Anima because I just don't think Anima's that great. We then play for the zombie cards that we're playing in this deck. We're playing a single copy of Jackabolin. Jackabolin is really good because it has the ability that you can discard a card from your hand, discard another zombie monster, special summon this card from your hand, and then during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can target another zombie monster in either player's graveyard, special summon that monster but banish it when it leaves the field, and then banish this card, face-up card, until the end of the turn, which is pretty good to be able to just take a card out of your opponent's graveyard, especially if you have Zombie World on the field. We then play Double Mizuki, which you can banish from your graveyard to revive a zombie monster from your graveyard, and you play a single copy of Gozuki, which when it's on your side of the field during the main phase, each one of your main phases, you can send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is pretty pretty good to be able to send your zombie monsters from the deck to the graveyard. You play 3 copies of the single best zombie in the entire deck, which is Unizombie, because Unizombie lets you either discard a zombie monster from your hand or send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can activate both those effects per turn to increase this card's level by 1. Usually you're not going to increase any of your monsters' levels by 1, you're just going to increase this one's by 1. And then you get to basically reap the benefits of those zombie monsters being in the graveyard, like your Mizukis, or your copies of like your Revenant and stuff like that. We then play double Shiranui Solitaire. Shiranui Solitaire helps out a lot because it has the ability that you contribute it to special summon a zombie tuner monster, or a zombie tuner monster with 0 attack, or 0 defense, excuse me, which is always going to be your Unizombie that you're going to special summon off this. We play double Doom King Ballardrot. Doom King Ballardrot is ridiculously good in this deck. It is a awesome like addition to the boss engine of this deck that has the ability that during your standby phase, or during the standby phase, if there's a card in this field spell zone and this card's in your graveyard, you just instantly get special summon this card back in defense position, and then you get to activate the abilities of this card once per turn. That you get to a quick effect, apply one of these effects once per turn, or once per chain when a zombie monster's effect is activated, except another copy of Doom King Ballardrot. It has the ability to apply one of these effects, and you cannot apply the same effect of Doom King Ballardrot again this turn. You either negate the effect or banish a monster on the field or in the graveyard, which is ridiculously good. We play a single copy of Necro World Banshee. Banshee is really good because it helps you get out your field spell a little bit easier to get your copy of Zombie World on your side of the field a little bit faster. And then 2 copies of Glow Bloom. Glow Bloom is pretty good in the deck because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to banish this card from your graveyard to add a level 5 or higher zombie monster from your deck to your hand, which can be one of your Vendread ritual monsters, which is pretty good. Or if you have Zombie World in the field spell zone, you can special summon it from your deck instead, which then it would be Doom King that you're going to special summon, or your copy of Jackie Bolin. We then play a 3-copy hand trap engine, which is 3 copies of Ash Blossom, just to stop our opponent from all sorts of shenanigans with sending cards or adding cards from deck to hand, special summoning from deck, or sending cards from the deck to the graveyard. It just helps out quite a lot to have the copies of Ash Blossom as well. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to open up really strong with 3 copies of Zombie World. So you got to play 3 copies of Zombie World. Zombie World is really helpful in this deck. I actually wasn't playing Zombie World in the previous Vendread build, I don't believe, but this card is ridiculously good. It makes everything a zombie monster that's on the field or in the graveyard, and you can't, neither player contribute summon monsters except for zombie monsters, which is really, really good and is an overall really helpful card. Something else I will mention that I'm not playing in the deck currently, but if you want to go a little bit more of a control route and you want to go more of a going first field in this deck, you can actually drop the 3 copies of the Ash Blossoms for 3 copies of Rivalry of Warlords, and it'll actually essentially shut your opponent's entire field down if you play 3 Rivalry of Warlords over the copy of Ash, depending on how you want to play the deck. But that's just a little suggestion. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is ridiculously good in this deck because if your opponent summons monsters on the field, you can discard a card, fusion summon from your extra deck a monster that's using the materials on the field from either player's side of the field, which in this case can always be your copy of Necro Netherworld, or Necro Nether Soul Dragon. It's a tongue twister, I swear. But what this card does is really good. Basically, you can use any 2 zombie monsters to go into that fusion monster, which is really good. And using Super Polymerization in combination with your Zombie World is just really helpful to go into it. We then play for the ritual spells. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Ravindra Evolution. Ravindra Evolution has the ability that you can ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard, and then keyword hand or graveyard, which is really nice. And then you have to tribute monsters from your hand or field and or send a Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard whose total level equals the level of the ritual monster trying to ritual summon, and then destroy the monster during the end phase of the next turn, which is still pretty good to be able to summon out a copy of your Vendread Savior or your Vendread Slayer to be able to get out onto your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Ravindra Origin. Origin is really good in the deck too because Origin has the ability that you can ritual summon any of your Vendread ritual monsters from your hand or graveyard, and then you must tribute summon monsters from your hand or field and or banish zombie monsters from your graveyard whose total level equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you're trying to summon. And if a Vendread Slayer is going that you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, which is really good. And then seeing as how your Vendread Slayer is actually mentioned on one of the cards, you can use your copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites, which will let you add your copy of a ritual spell from your deck to your hand and add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand whose name is listed on the ritual spell, which the Vendread Slayer is actually listed on Origins right there, so you can actually revive it or get the cards and searches off of this, which is super cool. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. And like I said before, if you want to drop the 3 Ash, you can drop the 3 Ash for 3 copies of Rivalry of Warlords if you want to go a little bit more of a control-based aspect, so you can kind of use it with your copy of Zombie World as well. So that's another option for you guys if you want to go that route. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of a Vendread Savior. This card's pretty good in the deck too, because it has the ability that it becomes Ravindra Slayer while on the field, and you can use each effect of this card once per turn. That you can target a Vendread card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, or during damage calculations card battles a monster, an opponent's monster, you can quick effect send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and your opponent's monster loses attack equal to level that monster times 200, which you play all the way up to level 8, so they can lose all the way up to 1600 attack, essentially making this go toe-to-toe with a 3200 beats deck, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker just to give you an additional card that can get you pops on the field. And this card's really good, but you can substitute it out if you want to go for a more budget build, which if you're playing Vendread, you might be looking for a more zombie budget build. You can drop this out if you want to and play something like a copy of Borreload or Boral Sword. Even Appaloosa goes in really well in this deck. It's totally up to you what you play at this particular slot. Nightmare Unicorn just to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Vampire Sucker because sometimes you need the suck, and it works well with your copies of your Zombie World. We play a single copy of Verte Anaconda because it helps you instantly get to your copy of your Super Polymerization really fast. We play a Link Rebo as well. The Link Rebo comes in really handy in this deck because you can use it with your level 1 monsters really, really easily, like your copy of your Glow Up Bloom. You play a single copy of the Dragon Necro or Nether Necro Soul Dragon. This card's really cool. Nether Soul Dragon is just a really good card in the deck. With Super Polymerization, it's probably one of my favorite Dragon Fusion monsters in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Outside of Beals. Well, Beals is a synchro, but it came out the same era. We play a single copy of Starving Venom because it's a really good card to go in with your copy of the Super Polymerization. Borreload Savage because you play so many cards up there that are link monsters that's really easy to go into Borreload Savage and get you multiple negations. Speaking of Beals, we play a single copy of Beals, which is a synchro monster, not a fusion monster. And it's really easy to go into because it can't be destroyed by battle or by card effects, and when you take battle damage from attacks involving this card or an opponent's monster's effect, this card gains attack equal to the damage you took, which is pretty good. We play a single copy of Void Ogre, which can help you out quite a lot, just negating spells and traps. Shiranui Shogun Saiga is pretty good too because it can banish a card, banish a zombie monster from your graveyard, and then it gains attack equal to the banished monster's original attack, which is pretty good until the end phase. Cyframe Lord Omega because it is a zombie deck, and then you play a single copy of Red Eyes Zombie Necro Dragon, which is a really good card. They can get humongous in this deck because if you have a Zombie World on the field, it gains 100 attack for each zombie monster on the field and in the graveyards as well, which is yours and your opponent's graveyard. So basically, if you have a Zombie World on the field, this card gains 100 attack for every single zombie monster in either player's graveyard, which is every single monster, which is pretty cool. And then also has the ability that this card is, when another zombie monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon one zombie monster from either player's graveyard to your field, which if you have Zombie World on the field, everything's a zombie. So if you destroy a monster by battle, you get to special summon that monster from the graveyard or another monster from the graveyard, which is pretty good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play with and very budget, actually. If you're looking for a really fun zombie deck, it's really easy to put this deck together. Outside of like maybe Access Code Talker, which like I said, you can drop for Borreload or Boral Sword, depending on what you want to play, which is very budget besides that. But anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and hit that bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad. If you are a part of the notification squad, definitely comment down below so I can give you a heart, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.